Sorry guys, that last video cut out, so we're just going to kind of pick up from where we left off. So what we had here is we were replacing the wind velocity with the given value, 46.2. And so the variable we're trying to solve for is down under this radical, and that's kind of a weird place for it to be. So I have to be able to get this alone. And the first thing I want to do is get rid of this coefficient of 6.3. So I'm going to divide both sides by 6.3. So off to the side here. I'm doing that on a calculator. And here, 46.2 divided by 6.3 is 7.3 repeating. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of round that. And then over here, this coefficient cancels out, and we're left with radical 1013 minus p. Okay, we don't expect this number to be rational necessarily, so when we square this, we can keep it in this form if we want, but we don't need to worry about having like a perfect exact number because it's real application problems don't really have those. So now that the radical's left on the right side of the equation, we're going to square both sides to start to get p alone. So I'm left with the radicand on the right, and then I'm going to square this number here while it's in my calculator. That makes it really easy. And I get 53.7 repeating. Now I want to get p alone, and right now it's like a negative p, so I could add p to both sides, or I can subtract 1013 and have a negative p on this side, and then this side I'll also have a negative number. I have negative 959.2 repeating. So I need positive p, so I just take the positive of this, so 959.2 repeating. Now, since the question was like estimate the air pressure, that kind of implies it doesn't have to be this perfect value. However, I have a pretty good value here, so I'm going to keep it. I'm going to say the air pressure, I'm kind of running off my paper here, is about, that tells me I've rounded a little bit here, 959 millibars. Okay, now we're on example 3, and I'm just going to go right to the student example just because I don't want this video to be too long. This guy's a little wonky because he has, oh boy, we have an x under a radical and we have an x not under a radical. So we have like two x's we're going to be trying to solve for here. And this guy is like a whole other level of complication. So we're going to go slowly with him. If you see on this side, everything under this radical, like it's only a radical on this side. So the best way to get rid of that radical is to square it. But if I square one side, I need to square the other side as well. So this is where things get kind of funky. Now, this square and this root will cancel each other out. However, what I have now is a quadratic, right? I have x minus 4 squared. That is not x squared minus 16. Okay, we don't distribute the square. We have to actually FOIL this guy out. So he's going to be x squared minus 8x plus 16. And if you need to actually expand that out and FOIL it, you're more than welcome to do that, okay? I got it by multiplying this linear binomial using FOIL. So this is what I get as my product over here. Now, the second you see this kind of quadratic business happening, you need to think, well, I know how to solve a quadratic. However, we can only solve quadratics when they're set equal to 0, at least if we're going to be solving them using either factoring techniques or the quadratic formula. So most of my stuff's on the right, so I'm going to subtract everything on the left, okay? That gives me, yes, a 0 on the left, and I have